survey the field and fire one deep down the right sideline for Amari Cooper, who makes an unbelievable leaping catch. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Bobby Valentine Sports Show. I'm your host, Frank Rampin, and week 6 of the NFL season has come and gone, and we're going to dive into another NFL weekly recap, get into another NFL episode, do the weekly recap, game of the week, and then go into a standings update, because now the standings are going to be a little bit more important because we're getting into it now, almost halfway through the season. A couple more weeks till we get to that halfway point, but it is coming, approaching fast like it always does, because unlike baseball, football is a sprint, kind of. It's more of a sprint than a marathon, because 6 months baseball season, we've finally gotten to the championship series, but football stuff happens much quicker. So we'll get into it now. As of week 6, after week 6, there are no more unbeaten teams in the NFL. The 1972 Miami Dolphins team, they're popping champagne. No more undefeated teams in 2023, so they live on. Only undefeated team to ever win the Super Bowl to this day, still. The 49ers lost to the Browns. We're going to get into that one more because that game had a lot of crazy things happen in it. Our play of the day, and that is our game of the week. So a lot of stuff's going to be going on with that game. We're going to get into that one a lot. And the Eagles lost to the Jets. The Zach Wilson-led New York Jets in East Rutherford, New Jersey at MetLife Stadium take down the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. And that Jets defense came to play. They played really well. They've been good all year. We saw what they did to Josh Allen in week 1, but they did really, really, really well in this game as well. The Eagles scored on their first drive. It was like a 19-play drive. It took like forever. They ended up scoring on a 4th and goal. It was kind of a controversial play because they ruled him short originally, and it was like one of the receivers was like trying to pull the ball out of his hand so he could score because he was already in the end zone. It was kind of weird, but they ruled that Jalen Hurts broke the plane. But after that, it was really stagnant. Like, the game was really slow. Like, it was a defensive battle, hard-fought game. That was kind of a theme for this week, especially in these two games with the unbeatens. The teams that played them to take down these two unbeaten teams, the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets, played unbelievable defense. And, that's how they were able to get these 2 wins. So they played very, very good defense in these games, were able to hang around for the whole game, and eventually, in the end, come out on top. The Eagles actually ended up so Jalen Hurts had a career-high 3 interceptions on Sunday. Not a very good day for Jalen Hurts. Probably his worst game as a Philadelphia Eagle in the National Football League. He threw a bad interception late in the fourth quarter. I didn't really know what was going on. He threw it right to a linebacker, it looked like, and it got returned pretty far into Eagles territory. And I think it was just around 2 minutes. I think it was just over 2 minutes where this happened. And I think it was just after the 2-minute warning. The Jets kind of had a chance to just sit on it and like kick a game-winning field goal as time expired to give the Eagles no chance at all. But Breece Hall had a run play, and the Eagles let him score. Like, it was pretty evident. The Eagles just let him score there, which, I guess is not the worst option. But, I don't know. You have pretty good defense. You're the Philadelphia Eagles. You made the Super Bowl last year. You're playing the Jets. But I guess you can use that same logic that I'm saying right there against me because, sure, you're the Jets. You're the Eagles. You should be able to, I guess, hypothetically, go down and score in the last minute and 40. That didn't happen. I don't think they actually even completed a pass. Turnover rundowns, the Jets ends up winning the game. Pretty impressive stuff by the New York Jets defense, Robert Saleh, and, Cleveland Browns defense as well. And it was a pretty weird week for the NFL yet again. Last week I said it was the first week of buys, and that kind of threw me off a little bit. The slate was a little bit more relaxed. This week was kind of weird for the fact that the 4 o'clock slate was weird. So it's like a bunch of teams that usually play at 4 o'clock, the West Coast teams that usually play in the 4 o'clock window, right? We're playing against East Coast teams, and they played at 1. So like the Seahawks, they played at 1. So did the Niners. It was kind of weird. So the games that we saw in the 4 o'clock window are kind of more typical 1 o'clock games. Like we saw that Eagles-Jets game was a 4 o'clock window game. 2 East Coast teams, that's kind of weird. Same with Tampa Bay. Or I guess Detroit, that's not really East Coast, but Tampa Bay and Detroit, that's usually a 1 o'clock game. Kind of interesting. And Tampa Bay, they're wearing those nice creamsicle jerseys. Those things are sweet. They did not have a good fare well with those jerseys, but they were awesome. But it was a weird week. A lot of weird teams playing at weird times. A London game. There's been 3 weeks in a row with London games. So another weird week for the NFL. But we'll move on to our play of the day. And we'll start into our highlight reel of this Cleveland Browns San Francisco 49ers game because that's a lot of stuff we got from this. So Beginning of the third quarter here, San Francisco's leading by 3, 10-7, and a 3rd and 7 here for the Browns. P.J. Walker, who was the quarterback for the Browns this week because Deshaun Watson was unable to play yet again. Last week they did Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the rookie from UCLA. That did not fare very well for them, so they decided to go with P.J. Walker, who was the XFL star from a couple years ago. He played for the Carolina Panthers last year in a couple games. So he, on 3rd and 7, is going to get the snap, drop back, survey the field, and fire one deep down the right sideline for Amari Cooper, who makes an unbelievable leaping catch to really moss 2 defenders at once here. Let's take a look at this again. Go back here. Amari, that's a great throw, too. He just goes up and over the corner. He had no chance. Little man had no chance there, and the safety was just too late. And unbelievable play by Amari Cooper. Coop chants raining in from the crowd, former Oakland Raider. I remember when we used to do those chants in my house, but not anymore, no longer. He's been gone for a while now. But unbelievable play from him, and that's going to be our play of the day from NFL Week 6. So, like I said, our play of the day is from the Browns-Niners game, and our game of the week is the Browns-Niners. So, we're going to hop into that right now, the game of the week. This game was in Cleveland. So, San Francisco, West Coast team, sunny San Francisco, pretty nice weather over there, I'd say. Heads to Cleveland, and it was not a very, very nice day in Cleveland. Maybe a little bit of lake effect rain there. Probably chilly too, a little bit colder than the Niners are used to. Wet conditions, and the Niners offense looked a little bit sluggish. But of course, their first drive of the game starts off the same way that every drive that they really do have. So they take it down into the red zone on a 2nd and 9 play with 12 and a half minutes to go. Purdy fakes a handoff to McCaffrey, but gives him a little shovel pass. He makes a couple moves, makes 2 guys miss, and easily walks into the end zone, scoring the opening touchdown of the game, making it 7-0 San Francisco. And that is a touchdown scored for Christian McCaffrey in 15 consecutive games. 15 consecutive games with a touchdown for Christian McCaffrey. That puts him ahead of Jerry Rice. He tied Jerry Rice's record for the most ever in San Francisco 49er history. Passes that, he's got the record to himself, and that ties a record with, I think, 4 other people. O.J. Simpson, one of those, Emmitt Smith on the list, for the most consecutive games scoring a touchdown in the history of the NFL. Not just the 49ers, the history of the league. So, elite company, elite for Christian McCaffrey, who just unbelievable, just is inevitable, does whatever he wants every week. Ensuing Browns possession, P.J. Walker on a 2nd and 5 play, throws over the middle of the field. Route is jumped by Fred Warner, makes an unbelievable play on the ball, takes off down the other side of the field. P.J. Walker is actually able to make the tackle, but a great instinctual play by Fred Warner, the all-pro linebacker that he is. Later on in this drive, after the Browns are able to hold them to a field goal, Jake Moody ends up hooking one from 54 yards away. So 54-yarder, that's not a gimme, but that wasn't really that close. Kind of hooked it. Keep that memory in the bank. Missed field goal by Jake Moody. Sure, 54 yards, but a missed field goal. We'll move ahead. The Browns miss a field goal of their own, unable to get on the board there. And Jake Moody, on his 2nd attempt of the day, after the Niners get the ball back, is able to connect. So that makes it a 10-0 ball game for the San Francisco 49ers. Browns get the ball here, and on a 3rd down and 1 play, they motion their tight end under center as if he's about to about to receive a sneak. He's going to receive a handoff under center and sneak through. We've seen that a couple times from certain teams like the Bills and stuff like that. But no, he takes the snap and pitches it over to Kareem Hunt, who takes it down the left sideline and into the end zone for his first touchdown of the year for the Cleveland Browns and the first touchdown of the game for the Cleveland Browns. So Kareem Hunt came back to the Browns this offseason. He didn't have a team for a while. Nick Chubb gets hurt. They bring him back in. He scores his first touchdown. He's going to look to get his role back on that team. And after an empty possession for San Francisco, Cleveland is going to go down the field and kick a field goal for the Cleveland Browns, tying the game up at 10-10. On the ensuing San Francisco 49er possession, 3rd and 11 here for Brock Purdy. He looks left, throws left, behind Brandon Ayuk, and that is intercepted at the 50-yard line. Going the other way, here comes the Browns, and it Brock Purdy's first interception of the season. He had been so perfect up to this point, but throws his first pick of the year, and now the Browns are in action. But both defenses hold strong now, and there are multiple empty possessions before the Browns are able to get into field goal range and kick another field goal to make it 13-10 Cleveland. So, after this game started 10-0, San Francisco kind of looked the way that everyone expected it to be, kind of how I expected it to be, as San Francisco, I mean, they've looked unbelievable. They beat the crap out of Dallas on Sunday night last week. So, I mean, I was kind of expecting them to come to this one and kind of do what they want, especially with the backup quarterback, P.J. Walker, playing for Cleveland. But Cleveland comes back from 10-0 deficit and takes the lead 13-10. Jump ahead now. Browns got the ball back, and on 2nd and 16, P.J. Walker surveys the field, throws left, and is intercepted. Not a great throw there. Maybe a miscommunication between him and Amari Cooper. I'm not sure. That one's returned all the way inside the 10-yard line to about the 5. So the Niners set up already in the red zone. Jordan Mason takes the handoff on the first play, runs into the end zone to take the lead back for San Francisco early on in the fourth quarter, 17-13. And you might just see Jordan Mason just scored a rushing touchdown for San Francisco. Yes, he did. Very interesting story developed there. So we talked about Chris McCaffrey. He set the record for the 49ers for most consecutive games with a touchdown scored and tied the NFL record all time. But later in the game, he got banged up a little bit and had to be removed. Him and Deebo Samuel both had to leave this game due to injuries. So that's not very good for the San Francisco 49ers, as that's two of their really 4 star playmakers, as they got those 2 guys, McCaffrey and Deebo. They have Ayuk and then George Kittle. Those are their 4 main guys, and they lost 2 of them on Sunday against the Browns. But Jordan Mason comes in, does exactly what McCaffrey probably would have done, and runs it into the end zone, making it 17-13. So now the Browns take the ball back and drive into field goal range, where they will settle for another field goal. 50-yard attempt here is good. That makes it a 17-16 ball game. And on the ensuing 49ers possession, the Browns force a 3-and-out. Brock Purdy is forced to throw one away. With just over 3 minutes to go in the ball game, the Browns have a chance with the ball. So, Browns ball, 2nd and 5 here, going into the 40. Handoff to Jermaine Ford, He makes a run and takes it all the way to inside the 15-yard line. So a huge run there from Jerome Ford, setting up the Cleveland Browns all the way inside the 15-yard line. But the drive stalls out there, and they're going to have to settle for a field goal. So 29-yard attempt, 1 minute, 43 seconds left to go. Nails it through. Browns take a 2-point lead, 19-17, with a minute and a half to go. So Brock Purdy, he's got a chance to take the lead. First play of the drive for the Niners. Brock Purdy finds Ayuk on the left side, makes a move, makes 2 guys miss. Huge play for the 49ers. They're all the way into Browns territory on the first play. A minute 15 to go. And after a couple more conversions, the Niners are able to get down the field into field goal range with 9 seconds to go. 41-yard attempt, Jake Moody for the win to keep the Niners undefeated, and he pushes it to the right. Misses it from 41 yards away. That's why I wanted you to keep in mind that first miss. Browns complete the win, 19-17. P.J. Walker, huge win as the backup quarterback for the Browns. They end San Francisco's undefeated season at 5-0. So, incredible stuff there, as that was the first of the 2 undefeated teams that were remaining to go down on Sunday. Niners were first at 1 in this crazy game. And then, like I talked about earlier, Jalen Hurts threw 3 interceptions, and they lost to the New York Jets. So that gives you our game of the week, and there are no more undefeated teams left as of week 6. So that's not even that long into the season. No more undefeateds. And now we'll get into our NFL standings update. All right. So, the AFC East, Miami Dolphins took care of the Carolina Panthers Sunday. Actually, the Carolina Panthers took a 14-0 lead in this game. Chuba Hubbard scored early. Adam Thielen scored early. Adam Thielen had a great game for himself. He's been having a good year. But the Miami Dolphins were able to come back, have some explosive plays like they do every single week. Tyreek Hill had a bunch of those. He had some cramping issues, but he ended up coming in and out of the game. Doesn't look like anything too substantial, but some cramping issues maybe from the heat in South Florida. Jalen Waddle had a touchdown, a little bit more involved in the game plan this time. And Devon Chain, as most people know, headed to the IR, so he's going to miss at least the next month. Raheem Mostert takes the lead back duties and really takes the only person running the football for them. Had an unbelievable day, had 3 total touchdowns on the day. Dolphins do what they're doing. They're first in the AFC East right now. The Buffalo Bills, they just beat the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football. Very controversial game, to be honest. The Buffalo Bills did not play very good at all. The Giants were winning this game 6-0 off of 2 field goals all the way until the fourth quarter. The Bills did not get any points until I think it was maybe their first drive of the fourth quarter. About 10 minutes to go, they finally got into the end zone. They took a 7-6 lead, but the Giants were able to go back down. Saquon Barkley came alive in the second half, was able to get them a drive to set up a field goal. Graham Gano nailed it to make it 9-7, but the Bills were able to come down, and Josh Allen made a very nice throw to make this score 14-9. But the Giants had a chance, and they got all the way down to the 1-yard line for an untimed down after a pass interference on the last play of the game. And I thought they were going to run the ball to Saquon. Trust your guy. He's your best player. But they kind of went for a little bit more of trickery. Kind of faked the handoff. Everyone stacked the box, and they threw one to the back of the end zone to Darren Waller. And the defender had his shoulder. From what I thought, hindered his ability to put his left hand up to catch the ball. All he had was able to get one hand up. His left arm was getting hindered. I thought it should have been holding, pass interference, something. The Giants should have got another chance there, but no flag. Bills end up winning on the last play of the game. But, I mean, it was a nail-biter. Pretty good game to watch on Sunday Night Football. But, man, tough for a Giants fan. I didn't love the call. I personally thought that it was a flag. I thought that they should have had another untimed down and made it like that one Raiders-Chiefs game that one long time ago on Thursday night, but that's not what happened. Unfortunate for Giants fans, but that's going to be a controversial play that gets talked about a lot. Talked about the New York Jets a little bit already. They beat Philadelphia at home, ending Philadelphia's undefeated season, and like I said, their defense played very, very well. And, I mean, okay, last week, Zach Wilson outplayed Patrick Mahomes. That's something. They just beat the Eagles. Is Zach Wilson doing enough for this team? Maybe. If Zach Wilson can continue doing what he's doing right now, they can win some games. Robert Saleh said it last week, and I think he's right. The New England Patriots, they came into Vegas, to Allegiant Stadium, and they lost to the boys, the Raiders, in Vegas. Bill Belichick is now 0-3 against Josh McDaniels. Has lost 2 games in a row in that building. Can't be fun for him, especially after last year what happened off that Chandler Jones insane play. So the Raiders take care of business against the New England Patriots, even though it was very shaky. But I had to represent. Got to get the Marcus Allen shirt on. Let's go, baby. Raiders get back to 500. NFC East, the Eagles, they lost to the Jets. Talked about them already. Jalen Hurts had his worst game of his career. Ended up throwing 3 picks in the day. Not a great game. The Dallas Cowboys, sitting in second in the NFC East right now. They play on Monday Night Football against the Los Angeles Chargers. Get back to you after that game. The Washington Commanders, they beat the Atlanta Falcons on the road. They picked off Desmond Ridder twice in the fourth quarter to seal the game. Pretty good game by their defense. Sam Howell did just enough. Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson both scored a touchdown. And I talked about the New York Giants. They had a chance to win that game late. Didn't go for them. I thought they should have got a flag. But the Giants haven't scored a touchdown in, I think, 205 minutes of gameplay. 205 minutes of gameplay is way too long to not score a touchdown. None this week, none last week. Very tough, very tough. They're sitting at 1-5, bottom of the NFC East. Move on to the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens, they beat the Tennessee Titans in London at 9:30 a.m. on Sunday, if you woke up early to watch that game. It was kind of a snoozer, to be honest. A lot of drives stalled out in the red zone, a lot of field goals. Justin Tucker, I think, made 5 field goals, maybe 6, I don't even know. It was crazy. But Derrick Henry ended up having a decent day, but the Ravens were able to take care of business. And with that win, because the Steelers were on a bye, the Ravens take possession of first place in the AFC North. Steelers in second, like I said, they had that bye. The Browns, we talked about them a lot today. They beat San Francisco, ending that undefeated season. They're sitting in third right now. And the Bengals, they looked a little bit better these past couple weeks. Joe Burrow looked a little bit more like Joe Burrow over the past couple weeks. Obviously, Jamar Chase had an unbelievable day last week. This week, it was a little bit more tame as an offensive side, but Joe Burrow looked like he was more healthy. He was doing more Joe Burrow things, kind of eluding the pass rush and doing some crazier things. They beat Seahawks, but they're still sitting at the bottom of their division. They're going to have to get things figured out and figure them out soon. The NFC North, the Detroit Lions, they beat the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. They saw those creamsicle jerseys that the Bucs pulled out for the first time in 10 plus years, and they said, "I don't care. We're going to smoke you guys." They won like 26-6 or something like that. Amon-Ra had a touchdown. They played pretty well. Jared Goff just doesn't really turn the ball over, and that's huge. The Packers, they had a bye this week. They're sitting in second place. The Minnesota Vikings just beat the Chicago Bears, the team that they were behind previously. So they moved from last place in the North to third place. They look a little bit better, but that was a closer game that they would have liked to probably, in their mind, an inferior opponent, the Chicago Bears, who they usually beat. So not great for them. Like I said, the Bears, they lost to them. And unfortunately, Justin Fields was banged up on the play. It looked like a hand injury, maybe a thumb. We'll see what happens with him. Hopefully he's able to get back and healthy for next week, but not very good for Bears fans. That's something that you never want to see. The AFC South now, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they handily took care of the Colts. They did not have Anthony Richardson. Gardner Minshew did not look great. It looks like maybe Gardner Minshew has to wait. Like, he can't start the game because then he won't do that great, but if he comes in halfway through, that's his thing. Didn't do great. The Colts, like I just said, they just lost to Jags. The Texans, the Houston Texans, led by C.J. Stroud, who had the longest streak of pass attempts to start a career without throwing a pick. They just beat the New Orleans Saints. Maybe not the best game that C.J. Stroud has had, as his previous games had all been better, more passing yards, more accurate. He did throw the first interception of his career in this game early on, but, I mean, he settled in. They were able to make this a dogfight game. The Saints defense is good. He had about 200 passing yards. I believe it was 199, but they beat the Saints. The Saints are a solid team, and that's a big win for them. That's a big win for C.J. Stroud against a good defense. Shows you that he doesn't have to put up these crazy numbers to win games. That means that they're a better team than we think, I believe. From my standpoint, the Houston Texans are a better team than most people believe. We'll see if that leads to fruition or not, but they're sitting at third right now. The Tennessee Titans have not looked good at all. Derrick Henry was able to have a decent game in London, but Tannehill did not look great. Tannehill threw a couple bad interceptions. Just didn't look like he was able to get the ball into pockets that he needed it to. He ended up getting hurt. Not really sure what his injury was, but he ended up getting carted off the field after he walked off the field to the sideline. He was on the sidelines and the cart came over and took him out. They're last in their division right now. The NFC South. This one's been interesting. I don't really know how this division is going to go. The Buccaneers, they're in first place right now, but they just got smoked at home by Detroit. Their offense has looked very shaky the past couple weeks. They just don't look like a very complete team right now. The Falcons are in second, and prior to this week, they looked like they were turning it around. Okay, this team is a little bit more exciting than I thought. Bijan's a beast. Maybe Desmond Ridder can get the ball to Drake London and Kyle Pitts a little bit more, and they can be exciting. They looked decent the past couple weeks, but they didn't look great against Washington. Desmond Ridder threw a couple picks late. Kind of looked like the team I'm expecting them to be, more of a run-heavy team that's going to have to keep you at a low scoring to win a ball game. The Saints, talked about them a little bit. They lost to Houston. C.J. Stroud looked great in that game. I mean, he threw a pick, but, he just does what he has to do. The Saints' offense is a little bit of a mystery here. I love Derek Carr. I've said it on this show. I like Derek Carr, right? I'm not sure if it's an AC joint problem because he had that injury a couple weeks ago or whatever, but they just need to figure it out. They look like they're not in sync right now. Their offense looks a little bit discombobulated. The defense is exceptional. They've only given up 20 points, I think, once, maybe twice. Did they give up 20 points yesterday? Who knows? But, they look really good on defense. So if this offense can just figure it out somewhat, maybe halfway through the season, 3/4 of the way through, I think this team will be dangerous still. The Carolina Panthers, they lost to Miami. They took a 14-0 lead, and they gave up 35 unanswered points. And they are the last winless team. They're the last winless team remaining in the NFL. So, see, Bryce Young, his tenure in the NFL has not started off too great. Hopefully, they'll be able to change that at some point, but it's not been looking good so far for the Carolina Panthers. Moving on to the AFC West, the Kansas City Chiefs. They beat the Denver Broncos on Thursday Night Football. And, I mean, honestly, they didn't look great. The Broncos just looked bad, which has kind of been a theme throughout the year. But, I mean, they've been all right. They'll probably turn it around and be the best team in the league come week 8, 9. But, like, so far, they don't look as explosive as, like, the Chiefs we're accustomed to seeing the Chiefs be. So maybe there's a little bit of room there. I don't know, for the boys. Probably not. But the Los Angeles Chargers, they play on Monday Night Football. So the Raiders, they got to win at home against the Patriots to go to 3-3. And as of right now, Monday, October 16th, before Monday Night Football, the Raiders are in second place in the AFC West. So hopefully the Dallas Cowboys can get a win over these Los Angeles Chargers tonight, keep us there. But we'll see what happens. But the Raiders get a win against the Patriots. Sure, great. Josh McDaniels 3-0 against Belichick. I don't know how great the Raiders should feel right now. Like, sure, you get a win. That's great. You're back to 500. This is the stretch of the year where you got to get some wins. We played the Patriots, then we played the Bears next week, then the Lions, which is pretty tough, and then both the New York teams, which are winnable games. Winnable games. 4 out of the 5 winnable games, I'd say, including the one we just won, right? So, tell me if you think this offense should be better. Devontae Adams, probably a future Hall of Famer, arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. Last year, he had 1,400 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing last year by a large margin. A large margin. Jacoby Myers, proven stud in this league. He's been very good for a couple years now, and with Jimmy G, their connection is, we can see it. It's good. Michael Mayer, highly touted Notre Dame tight end. That's where you get tight ends from, right? They're in Iowa. Why was that the first time we scored 20 points in a game? First game all year with 20 points. Win the game 21-17. And keep in mind, it's 19-17. Basically the same way that it happened in the Browns-Niners games with a bunch of field goals. It was 17-10. And then we kick a bunch of field goals to make it 19-17 because we do that as we do. And then we get a safety for the first time scoring 21 points all year. So maybe the defense is turning it around a little bit. Last week they had 3 interceptions. I said it last week. I don't even know last time the Raiders had 3 picks in a week. Now they have a safety. I can't remember our last safety either. I don't know. Max Crosby is an absolute beast. Maybe that's something. But the offense is it's not showing me anything. Jimmy G has 8 interceptions. He left the game early, hurt. Brian Hoyer had to come in and win that game. And Brian Hoyer, one of his second or third completion was like a 50-yard bomb, and it was our second longest pass of the year by our third quarterback that's played because Aiden O'Connell started the game because Jimmy's been hurt twice now. 8 picks, he's been hurt twice now. I thought he was supposed to be a game manager that controlled the ball. Our O-line is atrocious. Josh Jacobs doesn't have a singular running lane. So it's like, sure, we're 3-3, but let's get it figured out now before we go to Chicago, right? Come on. But 3-3 Raiders. Chargers playing tonight. Talked about that. The Broncos lost on Thursday to Kansas City. They're not looking great. The Broncos don't look good at all. I'm not sure why Sean Payton had so much to say. This team does not look very good. And to wrap this up, we'll go with the NFC West. The San Francisco 49ers, they just lost. Their undefeated season no longer. Lost to Cleveland in a rain-soaked game on Sunday afternoon. They missed a game-winning field goal, pushed it to the right. Jake Moody missed it. 2 field goals on the day he missed, so could have won the game, but I'm sure they'd like more from their offense as a whole. The Seahawks, they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. Their offense looked not very good. The beginning of this game started well. Kenneth Walker scored a touchdown early, but after that, they really couldn't get anything going. Kind of a close game. Cincinnati didn't play great either, but Seahawks offense did not look great, so maybe Geno can bounce back after this week. The Rams, they beat the Cardinals. Cooper Kupp, unbelievable. Every time he plays, he's just an absolute beast. And the Cardinals, like they just lost the Rams. They're Not great. Josh Dobbs has been a lot better than a lot of people thought, though. Josh Dobbs has been better than people thought. I can say that, but it still hasn't been very impressive from them. And that'll wrap it up for the NFC West, and that'll be our standings update for Week 6. I'll get back to you after the Monday Night Football game between the Los Angeles Chargers and the Dallas Cowboys. So, until then, we'll talk to you later. Peace out. Alrighty. Monday Night Football has concluded, and that will wrap up Week 6. The Dallas Cowboys were able to defeat the Los Angeles Chargers 20-17. So, like I said before, the Las Vegas Raiders, I guess, 3-3, sitting in second place in the AFC West with the Bears, the Lions, and then both the New York teams coming up. So, potential to win 3 of those next 4 games. Not going to get ahead of myself, but it's looking okay so far with how bad we've played so far. So, that game was kind of sloppy, both sides. Started off pretty good. Both teams scored, I think, on their opening possession. Then it was a little stagnant for a while. I believe it was 10-10 at halftime. Chargers took a lead 17-10. The Cowboys took a lead 17-10. Chargers tied it up, and the Cowboys were able to kick a field goal late. Justin Herbert looked all right. Keenan Allen had a pretty good game. Eckler had a solid game, but they looked all right. Offense was a little bit sputtery at some points, and Dak Prescott looked okay. Just okay. But all around, it was a solid win for the Cowboys because they were able to come up with a stop late in the game. Last drive of the game, Herbert had a chance to come down and tie the game, take the lead to win the game late, and he ended up throwing a pick on the final drive of the game going in. So Dallas Cowboys were able to take that one to move to, I believe, 4-2 on the season. And that will wrap up Week 6 of this week's NFL podcast. And hope you liked it. Tune in to the next week. And follow all of our accounts at Bobby Valentine Sports, or Bobby Valentine Sports Show on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all those good accounts, all the platforms. Make sure you like and subscribe. And hit up the bvacademy.com for everything you need to know about Bobby Valentine Sports Academy. Peace out.